This is a video for mural painting tips, part 2. When Miss Alyssa says pop the top when we're cleaning up the paint, she means that you wipe off the brushes first, get all the extra paint off, put them in a bucket of water, and then you're going to put the lid on the paint so that it makes like a popping sound or noise. First, you may have to remove some of the dried paint in the lid itself by just kind of putting it inside out, and then you should be able to put it back onto the paint container by taking both your thumbs, starting with them together, going around the top of the lid, and at the end it should kind of have a little popping noise when it seals. Now it should sit nice and flat so that when we stack them at the rainbow table, they won't tip over if 5 or 6 of these containers are stacked up. Some of these containers aren't super strong, and if you just try to smash the top on it, it'll break the container. Instead, I want you to do that same technique, make sure the container's upright and no wrinkles, and then go thumb to thumb and pop that lid on without ruining the container. Once all your lids are on, bring it to the rainbow container and stack it up in order by color. First we have reds and then oranges and then yellows and greens and blues. There's a lot of blues and purple, so make sure you stack those well. And then at the end are 2 rows, one for black and gray, and then another one for white and brown. This table has a really good start on their design, but they have not finished the edges, the purple lines going out to the edge of the polytab. So we want to do that before they keep painting so that they're ready to just go all the way to the edge without interruption. So what you need to do then is just grab a dark blue or a purple. Don't grab black. This is going to look prettier than black would. And then on here you want to look at your design and see where the lines go and try to do that same thing. So in this case, the triangle ends before the edge. So down here, I'm going to have the triangle end before the edge of the polytab. And then underneath it, the line goes all the way to the edge. So the next 2 lines here, I'm just going to extend all the way to the edge of the polytab. And now you'll be ready to paint all the way to the edge with whatever colors go in the middle and not have to stop because your design stops early. When you have a brush bucket at your table, if you notice the water is getting dirty, go dump it out and put some fresh water in it. I usually do 1 squirt of soap, and it helps just keep the brushes a little bit cleaner. Or you can swish it around. I've heard that a figure 8 is actually the best way to clean out a brush. Try doing a figure 8 both directions. And then wipe the brush on both sides. And you may even want to have a piece of paper towel here to dry it off before you switch colors. Now, I've noticed in this case, there was a blob of blue spilled on this polytab. If it's the same color, we don't want this much paint on the surface of our polytab. It could get, it could be that it peels off someday on our mural, and we don't want that to happen. So if it is the same color, just make sure that you smooth it out. It's better to do 2 layers of thinner paint than leave big blobs of paint. If you do accidentally spill a blob on the polytab that's the wrong color, you could actually use it initially. I noticed that orange color is over there too. I'm going to actually just try to scoop some of it up and use it in this orange section and do a second coat. Or if worse comes to worse, you can grab a sponge and try to remove this blob of paint so that it doesn't dry there. Once it's dry, it's a lot harder to remove big blobs of paint on the surface of the polytab. Later I can come and just paint over this again. Mistakes happen, but we don't want to leave really thick paint on our polytab. Plus, I can't stack them on top of each other because the really thick paint stays wet for longer and I don't have enough time to wait for it to dry between classes. In most of the designs, there's going to be a straight line somewhere. In this case, the edge of the book needs to have a ruler line drawn, and then it needs to be painted a little bit closer to the edge so that it looks cleaner from far away. So you want to set down the ruler so that it's kind of right in the middle of that original purple line, and in some cases it's going to go over the yellow and here and then over the black, and then you're going to have your classmates help hold it down while you run a pencil line along the edge. Miss Alyssa usually has pencils on her desk for this purpose. You want to do a nice dark line. And then now you should be able to come back, and if you look closely, see that pencil line and do a nice bead of paint right up to it on either side. In this case, I don't have to paint the black because it goes right up to it, but I should take the yellow again and go right up to this pencil line so that it looks nice and straight. When it comes time to paint the faces, your table can decide if you guys want to try to do a little bit of the skin color and hair color, or if you want to leave it for me, Miss Alyssa, to do. I don't want you guys to paint over, though, the original purple lines, because those were done right from the design, and I want to keep them in an accurate place. This table here has done some underpainting on Connor's face. If they want to leave it, I will come in and do the more realistic painting on top so that it looks good from far away. This table is deciding to paint everything around Justice Page's head and then leave his face for me to paint. When you're at the brush station and you need a different size brush, remember, go for a smaller brush before grabbing a bigger brush. This brush right here is in the clean brush bucket, but when I look at it, it's actually not clean. It has white paint in it. This brush should not be in this bucket. It should be in a bucket of soapy water. This one here, though, is clean and dry, and so that one can go in here, bristle side up. I do notice students sticking brushes back in these buckets that are not bristle side up. Sometimes they're dirty and then they get stuck bristle side down, and then those brushes will turn into garbage because they are not getting washed. Here we go. I'm going to put that in water. The problem also with putting a dirty brush in here is that it contaminates all the clean brushes, and then we just have to wash the entire bucket. So don't do that. If you think that you are getting close to finishing, make sure you do second coats on top of some of these colors that are a little bit more see-through. When you do the second coat, do a nice careful edge and try not to start over any of the pattern that you've done really well. Then the colors will look a lot more opaque. They won't look as transparent, and they'll look a lot better from far away. Yesterday, one of my classes actually finished the panel. This panel right here is in this design. It's just a 3x3 foot panel. It's one of the smaller ones, and it's pretty simple. That's Edgar's elbow there, and we will make sure that it lines up on the corners with the other mural panels next. But in this case, all of the designs are nice and straight. There's some nice ombre fade going on. The colors are painted right up to the edge, and it matches the design right here. So that's why I wrote on here done, so that I know that this section is done. The next step for them will be to line up their panel with other panels at adjoining tables to make sure that all these lines line up as they go from one mural panel to the next. One of the last cleanup things we're going to do at the end of each class is to bring our design sections back up to this table and then put our color scheme papers in that green bucket. Following these different techniques and tricks and working hard all hour at your assigned table group will earn you a 4. We'll be doing LT1 for the next few weeks, collaborating with my peers on painting these mural panels. Okay, keep up the good work.